that is, db_account and import user for your importing of user or trusted reconciliation. OK. So now, after you go back here in the create account, JSON, right, we pasted it right. So insert into db_account ID, email, first name, lesson. So we have 5 column and we're sending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, value. So if you see here in the values right, we are passing user.id with a dollar symbol, right? And why this is dollar? Dollar means when the code will run. That time it will try to fix the value dynamically, because this is not a constant value. Right, if you have known right in the language or you know in the corporate sector, if you want to refer to a variable, which will get the data at the runtime. So that's why you have to mention like in a dollar, because we are getting the data while runtime, because this value will be different for each user, right? If you were to name is in a steady, your email ID will be different and, for safety, it will be different for me. It will be different, right? That's why we always refer the dynamic value, so that at the runtime it will check what is the username. So if the username is, like 00123, that belongs to the user, so it will face the email ID of the user. Okay. So that is how it works. So that is why we are giving $, right? So always remember in Saviynt, if you want to refer any dynamic attribute or dynamic value, always you have to give it $. And this is must, this is compulsory. Okay. So now come back again to your create account, JSON, and you can see it has also given some of the sample JSON. How you can prepare. Look at this. Insert into users is given username, column and $user.username. OK. So now scroll down and save and test connection. OK, connection is successful. Close it. So now connection is ready for provisioning, right? So, along with this connection for provisioning, we required a security system. So click on the security system. The security system. Again, it is under admin and identity repository and security system. Click here. Click on Action, Create a Security System. And I will give a name. What is the name here? Same name. Let's give it connection name. Security System Database Training Safe and give the display name. And here you see provisioning connection, right? For provisioning, you have to mention the connection. What is the connection name? Connection is Database Training Safe. So these connection information we are passing to the security system, we are passing inside our security system. And scroll down. You see, there is 2 options, Access Add Workflow and Access Remove Workflow. If you remember, I was talking. If the application is a critical application. And it will go for approval. Right. First it should go for a manager approval. And second, it should go for that critical application owner approval. So that work approval thing will be configured under a workflow. So we'll also see how we can configure workflow. But if you want to provision any of the application, by default, you require a workflow. Without a workflow, you cannot submit a request. So I am just giving a approval workflow that is auto-approve. That means automatically it will approve. It doesn't require any manager approval. For sure, you require approval workflow. If you want to give access to this X-ray application right, first you need a workflow. Either that is a auto approval or it is a manager approval. If you are not saying that manager doesn't need to approve this application. Or the owner doesn't need, so simple. You have to mention workflow. Okay, this workflow is nothing simple. If you raise a request, you got the request ID. And this request ID, it will guess process by everything. So you have to mention auto approval workflow. Workflow is mandatory. Without workflow, CAB doesn't allow to submit any request. Okay, so after you do that, access workflow auto approve and access removal workflow auto approve. After that, come down. So this is automated provisioning. Mention is automated provisioning. Okay. So if I do not mark it as a automated provisioning right, what will happen? I'll come to that part. Okay, I'll come in a minute. Okay. Let me process this thing and I'll come to what is automated provisioning. And simple. Click on Create. So your security system is created now, right? So this security system need a endpoint, right? So again, if you go back, you find this is blank. So again, come back to security system. Click here. Open the security system which we created now. This one. Right. So you see here. Workflow is auto approval. Status is enable. And this is ready to consume right provisioning connection you have here. Now in security system below to that you see endpoint, click here. Once you click here, go to action. Create a endpoint. So in the endpoint mention the endpoint name. So it is always advisable. It should give a unique name, right? So we have given the same database training CF name to our security system. As well as we'll give the same name to our endpoint. Mention here. This is the endpoint name. And it has a display name. So display name can be different also, right? But I'm giving the same name so that you know easily. You can understand. And here, you have to choose your security system. What does your security system? We gave it as a database training CF. So type database training CF. Once you do this right, scroll down. And simple, click on Create. OK. And I'm just giving you a condom rule. OK, I'll explain you what is a condom and why it is required. OK. So, basically, what is the meaning of this? What happened? It got hangover.